Steelers Nation. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, the Pittsburgh Steelers are standing at a true crossroads. Mike Tomlin is gone. And now the question isn't who replaces him. The real question is, do the Steelers play it safe or do they swing for the future? Because while big names like Brian Flores, Chris Schula, and Jesse Minter dominate the headlines, there's one name quietly rising behind the scenes. A name insiders are calling one of the smartest minds in the entire NFL. He's only 30 years old, he's offensive-minded, and almost no one is talking about him yet. Grant Udinsky. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this might be the boldest and most Steelers-like hire they could possibly make. To understand why this moment matters so much, you have to understand how rare this situation is in Pittsburgh. The Steelers aren't just replacing a coach, they're replacing an era. And that reality set in immediately after Tomlin stepped down.
Hours removed from Mike Tomlin officially stepping down as Steelers head coach, and now the Steelers themselves are on the search and the hunt for their 4th head coach since 1969. And today, guys, let me tell you, the Steelers, man, they are not waiting around to request some interviews for a couple of the top head coaching candidates out there. And some of these candidates we're going to be talking about in this very video.
Some of these candidates have actually been at the top of, I think, a lot of our wish list, as a matter of fact. Some of these names actually excite me. When I heard that Art Rooney II, Dan Rooney, which is the vice president for the team, and Omar Khan are going to be in the search for a head coach, I thought to myself, they have to nail this search, they have to nail this hire, and that means they had to go after some of the top candidates, some of the more sought-out candidates out there for this offseason. And today, I'm proud to say that it's been reported that the Steelers have indeed requested interviews for some of those top guys. Those guys include my top personal pick, my go-to in my opinion. Some of y'all may disagree, some of y'all might agree. Let us know down in the comments. Chris Schula is one of the candidates that the Steelers did indeed request to interview. Now, if they're able to get him in, it's going to have to be after the Rams season. The only way they can interview him so far right now is virtually. Same thing with the Rams passing game coordinator. That is Nate Schula.
Which his last name, by the way, just fits with the culture of Pittsburgh, by the way. So he'd fit like a glove, I would say that.
That is his name, Nate Schula. And same thing with Chris Schula. They can virtually interview him. They cannot bring him in until the Rams season is done. But those are 2 interesting names from the Sean McVay tree that they are indeed requesting to interview. 2 sought-out names already, as a matter of fact. Another one is Jesse Minter, the Chargers defensive coordinator, and he's going to be someone that's going to be getting a lot of interviews as well. How about Brian Flores, familiar face for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Brian Flores is another one that they did indeed request to to interview. As a matter of fact, Brian Flores, his contract is up for the Minnesota Vikings. He's actually a free agent coach. He could sign anywhere for any role he wants to.
That's right.
If he wanted to lateral for the DC job, by all means, but you know he's going to be getting head coaching interviews, and the Steelers will be one that he'll be interviewing for. And last but not least, the Steelers did also request an interview for the Dolphins defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver. So those are 5 already just today that they have requested to interview, which 4 out of the 5 I am all for. Those are some of the candidates I was really looking at, some of the top candidates out there. And obviously more to follow, which is a good thing. What that tells me is that they're looking in the right direction. They're looking for the top guys. They're looking for the young cats. They're trying to make a name for themselves.
That's the key word right there. Historic. 4th head coach since 1969. The Steelers don't rush these decisions. They don't panic. Which means whoever they hire isn't just a coach. He's the next long-term face of the franchise. When the Steelers officially announced their first round of interview requests, it confirmed something important. They are casting a wide net, but they're being very intentional.
Head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers is now underway as the team has officially announced their first slate of interview requests. We're going to be breaking down the 5 coaches that the team has officially requested interviews with today. breaking down what they bring to the table and why I actually really like this initial list of head coach candidates for the Black and Gold heading into the 2026 offseason. Now, before we get into the content today, the search is officially on here in Pittsburgh for the fourth head coach in the Super Bowl era for the Black and Gold. And whenever they make that hire, whether it's a week from now, whether it's 2-3 weeks from now, we're going to be going live whenever they hire the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button as well for daily updates. Whenever we get new interview requests, we're going to be breaking down what that coach would bring to the table as the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let you guys know everything you need to know about all of these candidates before an official decision is made. All right, so now we'll start today's show here by talking about the first head coach candidate here that has certainly gotten a lot of buzz surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers head coaching job. He's even gotten some buzz even before Mike Tomlin decided to step down, and that is the grandson of former NFL legend head coach Don Schula, Chris Schula, who's currently the defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams. And this guy is the betting favorite to be the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers as we stand here right now. And Schula has really done a great job as the defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams the last 2 years. He is 39 years old, so he definitely fits into that mold of, younger defensive-minded head coaches that the Steelers have always done. I think every single head coach that they have hired has been below the age of 40 and a defensive-minded guy, so Schula does fit into that kind of Steeler mold, if you will. But he's done a really good job as the defensive coordinator of the Rams the last 2 years, and he runs a quarters-heavy 3-4 base defense. He runs a lot more base and a lot more dime than the normal NFL defense, and he plays a little bit less nickel than the normal defense you see in the National Football League here today. We'll talk about his defensive scheme here in just a second, but of course Schula is the grandson of the NFL legend, Don Schula, who coached the Miami Dolphins for many years, and Chuck Noll actually worked with Don and cut his teeth as a defensive coordinator under him.
Notice the pattern. Young, innovative, either elite defensive minds or modern offensive thinkers. And that's exactly where Grant Udinsky enters the conversation. Deep into the conversation, after all the familiar names were covered, one name stopped everything. And the reaction wasn't hype, it was respect.
30 years old. 30!
That's young.
He's 30 years old. And this is someone that is quickly, and I mean quickly, rising up to my top of the list in terms of guys I really want the Steelers to bring in and potentially hire as head coach. He quickly rose up to the rank. The more research I did, the more I'm liking this guy, and that is Grant Udinsky. He is the Jaguars offensive coordinator, and yes, I know that Liam Cohen did most of the play calling, but you know that this guy had a hand in doing the play calling and the game planning. And just look at what he's done the past couple years under the Kevin O'Connell tree, under the Sean McVay tree in a way, because where do you think Kevin O'Connell and Liam Cohen came from? They came from the Sean McVay tree. Now you're telling me that Grant worked under both of them? Because before Grant was the Jaguars coordinator, the offensive coordinator, he was interviewed for the assistant quarterback coach. Actually, he was interviewed for a special projects coach for the Vikings. And then he was quickly promoted as an assistant quarterback coach and then an assistant offensive coordinator. He wasn't there long, but he played a part in the game plan for Kevin O'Connell. He actually did a great job in helping build a guy like Sam Darnold, actually. And Sam Darnold's last year. And then he went over to Jacksonville to work with Liam Cohen, and look what Trevor Lawrence did. You could argue that Trevor Lawrence had his best year.
Oh, dude, I would admit, I didn't find the Jaguars to be convincing whatsoever, but just, the season that they had, especially how Trevor Lawrence, his career was definitely rejuvenated. And you got to think that a guy like Grant Udinsky played a big part in that.
Well, you also look at the leaps the Jags took, bro. They averaged 33 points per game during their final 8 straight game winning stretch to end the season before they lost in the playoffs. He's only 30 years old. He's an offensive mind. He's learned from some of the best in the league. He's learned from 2 guys that worked under Sean McVay. The way I see it, this is someone the Steelers should be looking at as an under-the-radar type option, as a legitimate dark horse option, because I think, frankly, Like, this is someone you could take a risk on. Like, you want an offensive-minded guy. You want someone young. You want to take an actual chance. This is the guy I think the Steelers could do it with. And if Omar Khan has any say in it, Omar Khan, he's a scout himself. He knows what goes on, or he knows what goes on around the league. I'm hoping he knows a guy like Grant Udinsky, because then he can put it in words. Say, hey, let's get this guy in here. The Jag season's done. He's already interviewing for the Browns head coaching job on Saturday. The Steelers should definitely be within the realm as well. That's how I see it. I think the Steelers, if the Browns don't hire him for the vacant head coaching position, the Steelers should definitely bring him in as well for an interview. Like, he's young, he's innovative, he's looking for that opportunity. Like, I honestly think that he could be a great head coach down the line. Almost, if not as great, almost as good as what Sean McVay's doing. Frankly, because I think he's that good of an offensive mind. I think he's going to make for a great coach in the next couple of years. And I think the Steelers should definitely be looking at him to request an interview for the head coaching job. That is my dark horse. That's my under-the-radar guy. That's kind of one of my secret guys I'm hoping the Steelers look into. He's quickly rising up my board for me.
Yeah, and you listen to his press conferences, with the Jaguars and whatnot, and, like the questions that he's answering about the offense and how he just gets everything prepared and how he just orchestrates the offense and how he pinpoints, okay, we got to attack here, attack there. Like he is just so detailed in how he goes in there and wants to attack with the offense, what he needs to do.
Yeah.
Attack a defense and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Like, he's so detailed. For a man that's 30 years old and just already this detailed and this organized, and just what he's done, for the Vikings with Sam Darnold, of course, he definitely played a part in Darnold's resurgence, and of course Trevor Lawrence now in Jacksonville and that offense, and the offensive ranks that they had, and getting those guys involved to get live up to their talent. Like, it's impressive for a 30-year-old coach. Like, he's definitely going to be an up-and-coming riser for a head coaching gig down the road. If not this year, definitely down the road.
100%. I think he's going to be
That's not casual praise. That's people who've watched this guy work up close. Udinsky isn't just young. He's obsessive about preparation, structure, and leadership. The Pittsburgh Steelers are expected to have a long, meticulous search to find the man that can fill Mike Tomlin's shoes. They already have 5 potential options set to interview with them, and more candidates are expected to be brought in. There are numerous big names that are expected to get an invite from the organization throughout this process, and this could make it take a very long time for a final decision to be made. This will require a lot of patience and faith to get through. With all the big names being thrown around, Aditi Kinkhabwala threw another name into the ring to potentially be the Steelers' new head coach while making an appearance on 93.7 The Fan. This one, however, is a man that not enough people are talking about. Grant Udinsky, let me tell you, Kinkhabwala said. Grant is probably one of the 5 smartest people I've ever met in the National Football League. The guy reads extensively on leadership, on how to lead. He's so smart, he's so ambitious, he's so hungry. He's all about ball. Everybody that has ever worked with him loves him. Don't forget that I'm telling you this. I love him. At just 30 years old, Jacksonville Jaguars offensive coordinator Grant Udinsky did receive an interview request to be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, but he has still flown under the radar despite that. His age probably has something to do with it, but if he can impress people in 2026 like how he has already impressed Kinkhabwala, he may be a lock to get a head coach gig in 2027 if no one hires him in this cycle. Kinkhabwala told a story about how Udinsky has Jaguars backup quarterback Nick Mullins record his cadence, audibles, and play calls each week so he can send them out to the offense. This is done so that if something were to unfortunately happen to Trevor Lawrence, no one would be confused by the backup signals during the game. The Steelers could definitely benefit from that kind of attention to detail. Kinkhabwala also mentioned that Udinsky has the ability to call plays, but he doesn't because head coach Liam Cohn takes those responsibilities. If the Steelers hire him, they would get a guy that can help out with X's and O's each week. At the very least, it would be worth giving him an interview just to see how he thinks and what he would do as the leader of the team.
Steelers may have a younger, more modern version of Tomlin. Tomlin always considered himself a football junkie. From the description of Udinsky, it sounds like he fits that characterization as well, except he is much younger and likely more in tune with the modern game. His drive to be better would be one that could motivate the locker room, especially if he seems to be prepared for any situation. Strive for the best and prepare for the worst. He seems to live by that.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because this wouldn't be the first time the Steelers took a bold risk on youth.
List, guys, Grant Udinsky might be one of the dark horse head coaching candidates, actually, in the National Football League. There's a lot of Browns fans that want to hire him. You listen to Grant Udinsky talk, guys. He's the former, I think he's the former pass game coordinator in Minnesota. Now he's the OC under Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. You listen to this guy talk, man. He talks like Sean McVay about the game of football, and he's 30 years old, the same age that McVay got his job. So look out for Udinsky, man. He would be an awesome hire.
The Steelers hired Mike Tomlin in his 30s. That decision shaped the franchise for nearly 20 years. Grant Udinsky would be an even bolder version of that same philosophy. High risk, potentially massive reward. And no one is pretending this would be safe. Even Udinsky's biggest supporters admit that.
Frankly, because I think he's that good of an offensive mind. I think he's going to make for a great coach in the next couple of years. And I think the Steelers should definitely be looking at him to request an interview for the head coaching job. That is my dark horse. That's my under-the-radar guy. That's kind of one of my secret guys I'm hoping the Steelers look into. He's quickly rising up my board for me.
Yeah, and you listen to his press conferences, with the Jaguars and whatnot, and, like the questions that he's answering about the offense and how he just gets everything prepared and how he just orchestrates the offense and how he pinpoints, okay, we got to attack here, attack there. Like he's just so detailed in how he goes in there and wants to attack with the offense, what he needs to do.
Yeah.
Attack a defense and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Like, he's so detailed. For a man that's 30 years old and just already this detailed and this organized and just what he's done, for the Vikings with Sam Darnold, of course, he definitely played a part in Darnold's resurgence. And, of course, Trevor Lawrence now in Jacksonville and that offense and, the offensive ranks that they had and getting those guys involved to get.
That's the truth. If he hits, you might have your coach for the next 15 to 20 years. If he misses, you're resetting again in 2 seasons. But sometimes, that's the cost of evolution. So now it comes down to this, Steelers Nation. Do you want stability or transformation? Do you want the safe choice or the future? Because Grant Udinsky represents something Pittsburgh hasn't tried in a long time. A true offensive visionary, a modern leader, a calculated risk. Now I want to hear from you. Would you trust a 30-year-old offensive mind to lead the Pittsburgh Steelers, or is that a step too far? Drop your take in the comments. Debate it, argue it, defend it. This is one of the biggest decisions in franchise history, and your voice matters. Here we go, Steelers.